The ancient city of Pompeii. A long time ago, in ancient Rome, there was a beautiful city by the sea called Pompeii. The people of Pompeii lived happy lives. They built tall homes, busy markets, and lovely gardens. The streets were always full of people talking, shopping, and laughing. The air smelled like fresh bread from the bakeries, and you could hear the sound of children playing. It was a wonderful place to live. Pompeii was near a big, tall mountain called Mount Vesuvius. The mountain was so tall that the people in Pompeii could see it from anywhere in the city. It had been quiet for many years, and the people didn't worry about it. They thought of it as just a beautiful mountain. They had no idea that the mountain was hiding a terrible secret. One sunny morning, a young girl named Lucia woke up early. She lived with her father, who was a merchant, and her mother, who worked in their home. Lucia loved playing in the busy marketplace, where there were so many things to see. Colorful clothes, delicious fruit, and beautiful pottery filled the stalls. Lucia ran through the streets, meeting her friends as they played games. They didn't know that something bad was going to happen very soon. Lucia's father was preparing to go to the marketplace to sell his pottery. He always worked hard, creating beautiful pots, bowls, and vases. "Lucia," he said with a smile, "be careful while you play. Stay close to the marketplace so I can see you." "I will, father," Lucia promised, and she ran off to play with her friends. At the same time, Lucia's mother was preparing food in the house. She was busy making bread and soup. She looked out the window and saw that the sky was clear and bright. She didn't know that far above them, something was happening to Mount Vesuvius. The mountain started to rumble deep inside. It shook, and the ground began to tremble. At first, the people didn't notice. They were too busy with their daily tasks. But soon, the shaking became stronger. The ground under their feet felt strange. The air smelled like smoke, and the sky began to turn dark. Lucia's mother looked out the window again and saw a cloud of smoke rising from the top of the mountain. "Something is wrong," she whispered. The earth shook harder, and the people began to feel afraid. They looked up and saw thick smoke pouring out of the volcano. The clouds grew bigger, and the sky became dark. Lucia's mother hurried to find her husband and daughter. She called out, "Lucia! Lucia!" But Lucia was still playing in the streets with her friends. They all looked up at the sky, confused by the dark clouds. They felt the ground shaking beneath them. "What's happening?" Lucia asked, holding her friend's hands tightly. Suddenly, there was a loud boom. The sound echoed through the city, and everyone froze in fear. The ground shook so much that the houses seemed to sway. A huge burst of smoke and ash shot into the air from Mount Vesuvius. The people screamed in terror. The sky turned black as ash began to fall from the sky. It was like night had come in the middle of the day. Lucia's father rushed to find her. "Lucia, we need to go inside," he shouted, grabbing her hand. The streets were now full of people running, looking for shelter. The noise from the volcano was so loud that it sounded like thunder. Rocks and ashes rained down, and people were scared. "Where's Mother?" Lucia cried. "She's waiting at home," her father said, pulling her quickly through the busy streets. They passed people running in all directions, some carrying their children, others holding their pets or bags of food. The ash was falling so fast that it covered everything. The air felt thick, and it was hard to breathe. The city of Pompeii, which had been so bright and lively, was now filled with smoke, dust, and fear. Lucia and her father finally reached their home. They ran inside, and Lucia's mother hurried to shut the door. "We must stay inside," she said. "We don't know what will happen next." Outside, the sky grew darker as more and more ash fell. The mountain continued to erupt, sending rocks, lava, and smoke into the air. It was like the world was ending. Lucia's family gathered in a small room and tried to stay calm. The earth shook and rumbled, but they held each other tightly. They could hear the sounds of the eruption outside, but they stayed inside, hoping it would stop. As the hours passed, the ash kept falling. The air became hotter, and it was hard to see anything outside. Lucia's father looked out the window. He could see that Pompeii was slowly being buried under a thick layer of ash. "We can't stay here much longer," he said, worried. "We must leave." But it was too late to leave the city. The ash was falling too fast, and the ground was shaking too much. The people of Pompeii had nowhere to go. They couldn't escape. The night was long and frightening. The volcano kept erupting, and Pompeii was buried deeper under the falling ash. Lucia's family tried to stay warm and safe, but the heat from the volcano made it hard to breathe. The next morning, when the eruption finally stopped, the sky was still dark. The people slowly came out of their homes, hoping to see the sun. But all they saw was ash, thick, heavy ash covering everything in the city. Lucia's family stepped outside, looking at the ruined city. The beautiful streets, the busy marketplace, and the tall houses were all buried under a blanket of ash. The people who had lived in the city were gone. Many of them had not made it out in time. Lucia's family was lucky. They had escaped the worst of the eruption, but they were sad to see their city destroyed. They knew that Pompeii would never be the same again. As time went on, the people of Pompeii were forgotten. The city remained buried under the thick layer of ash for many years. It was like a secret, hidden under the earth. No one remembered the beautiful homes, the busy streets, or the happy people who had lived there. But many, many years later, in the 1700s, people began to dig in the earth. They found Pompeii again, buried under all the ash. Archaeologists, people who study the past, began to carefully dig up the city. They found houses, streets, and even paintings that told the story of the people who had lived there. They found beautiful pottery and tools that the people of Pompeii had made. They found skeletons and other signs of the people who had lived in the city. Pompeii was no longer a forgotten place. It was a time capsule, showing the world how the people of Pompeii lived. Today, Pompeii is an important place where people go to learn about the past. It teaches us about how the people lived, how they worked, and how they loved their city. It also reminds us that nature is powerful, and we must always be prepared for the unexpected. Lucia and her family, like many others, never returned to Pompeii. They rebuilt their lives in other places, far from the dangerous volcano. But the memory of their home, of the beautiful city of Pompeii, lived on in their hearts.